Greetings everyone. Today the new exclusive right of sale listing agreement transaction broker. There's many different listing agreements. All of them have been updated as of 2024 with all the changes to the real estate industry. I've been having a lot of agents ask me to go over this new specific contract as there's been a big change to the compensation paragraph. So we're going to go over it and hopefully this video is helpful. If you're new or been here for the first time or returning, our company is Niz Realty Inc. We're licensed currently in the state of Florida. We pay all of our agents 100% of their real estate commission. More information about that can be found on our website. So please feel free to visit there or give us a call for a free confidential consultation. But without further ado, let's get into this video and start discussing this contract, because that's probably why and the reason you're here. So it's pretty standard, like all of our other contracts. We're going to start off with the seller's name. Let's say today Billy Bob is the seller. And down here on the next paragraph that you fill out is broker. You do not put the listing agent's name here or the agent's name. This needs to be your brokerage name here. So our company name is Niz Realty Inc. So we'll put that there. In the state of Florida, these listing contracts cannot exceed 1 year. So let's say we're going to start it on August 2nd, 2024. It needs to expire on the 1st of 2025. 1 day prior if you're going to do a year contract. It could be shorter than that, but in the state of Florida it cannot exceed 1 year. So it's always the day prior if you're going to do a 1 year contract. It does not end on August 2nd. It ends on August 1st in this example at midnight. So, or 11:59 p.m. So now that we got that filled out, let's go down to the street address. You put the street address of the property you're listing. One thing I always have to emphasize is you need to put the full address here, the city, state, and zip code. I see a lot of times individuals leave out the state, they leave out the city, they don't put the zip code. If you're with our brokerage, it's unacceptable. You need to fill it out. And the correct way to fill it out is to put the full street name. So let's just make up an address here for a placeholder. Miami, Florida, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It needs to look like that. If there's a unit number, you put the unit number here. You could write unit 307, whatever it is, the unit number you put there as well. Just make sure you include the city, state, and zip code, the full address you put here. So let's move on from there. The legal description, usually you get that from the public records. You put the legal description here. I'm just going to leave it blank, but it's usually something long. If it's really long, you could always check mark see attachment and create something like see Exhibit A and attach an Exhibit A to this addendum. If it's a really long legal description, sometimes you have really long legal descriptions and you would add it like that if it won't fit in these 2 lines here. So the personal property, including appliances, you could list them here: fridge, freezer, dishwasher, washer, dryer. I'm not going to fill this out right now because I want to get straight into more important parts of this video, but you'd list the appliances here. If it's something larger than that, you could do the same thing, see attachment, see Exhibit B. The occupancy, is it occupied or not occupied by a tenant? If there's no tenant, you could just check mark the second box and end it there. If there is, you check mark is, and when the lease expires, let's say it expires on the 30th of 2024. The price, of course you put the price here. Let's say we're selling this property for $500,000 here today. So we'll put that there. The financing terms, cash, conventional, VA, FHA. You can check mark other, hard money lenders if you want to put it there. That's up to you. Seller financing, if you're going to do that, you'll check mark it here. I'm not going to really fill out this paragraph. If you're a part of our brokerage, you could contact us for further information about seller financing or assumptions of existing mortgages. But for the purposes of this video, I'm going to skip over that and not take too much time going through that. Financing terms and move on. The next part you fill out in these paragraphs, you could come down here to paragraph 6. If you check mark this box, use seller's name in connection with marketing or advertising the property, display the property on the internet except the street address. I don't recommend you check mark this box unless you don't want the property to really to have no street address online, which in most situations, it's not very helpful. You don't really want to do this, but there are certain unique situations. It's usually seldom and rare that you would check mark this and you don't want the full street address. But usually you don't want to have this check marked, but in a rare situation you will if you don't want the street address to be advertised on the internet. Same with the next box. Seller does not authorize broker to display the property on the MLS. If you're advertising the property and you're not putting it on the MLS, you would check mark this box. I think in most situations, if you're a realtor, you're probably going to be putting it on the MLS, but that's not always true in the case. So you check mark this box at your discretion. I'm just going to leave them blank because we're going to act like we're putting this property with the street address and on the MLS for full advertising. We're trying to find a buyer. And if you do check mark those boxes, you want to have the seller initial here. If you don't, a lot of times I don't even check mark these boxes if I'm just leaving them blank, but you could have them always initial here just in case. So the next part is check if applicable. Use a lockbox system. If you're putting a Supra or any type of lockbox on the property, you want to check mark this box. Let's say we're going to put a Supra on this property, so we'll check mark it. Do you want to withhold verbal offers? If someone just gives a verbal offer and you don't want to really take those seriously, in my professional opinion, I'd recommend withholding verbal offers. I don't really like to take things seriously unless it's in writing and submitted to me, but that's my opinion. Not necessarily saying I'm right or wrong. I just don't like verbal offers. I want to see it in writing. And same with the next box. I usually check mark to withhold all offers once seller accepts a sales contract. If it's pending and under contract, I like to withhold all the offers, and I check mark this box to do that. But you need to proceed at your sole discretion. You may not want to check these boxes, and you may want to accept verbal offers, or you may not want to withhold all offers when the seller accepts a sales contract. So I'm going to click these because that's what I recommend. You don't have to do it. Handle your business accordingly as you deem fit. Virtual office websites. I see a lot of realtors click this. It really just depends. Sometimes I don't authorize it, sometimes I do, but the seller would. It's about the estimated market value and the right comments. I don't really see a big deal with this, but for some sellers it is. So let's just say the seller doesn't want to have comments written about the property or to have a automated estimate of the market value. So you could check mark this, and then usually inside your MLS there's a section where you could turn these off. Keep in mind, if you check mark these boxes and you sign this contract with your client, you're most certainly going to want to make sure these boxes are not check marked in the MLS, because then you're doing the wrong thing. You're saying you're not going to have all these market values and comments written, but then you're allowing it in the MLS. So make sure your contract matches your MLS listing if you're placing it in the MLS. Moving along, we have seller obligations. You could read through these paragraphs. Part G here is if there's anything that materially affects the property. If you know of something or the seller knows of something, they need to disclose that to you. And if you see something, you need to disclose that. Like if there's something wrong with the roof, or there's a lien on the property, you'd have to mention it there. But let's say for this example, there's nothing known, so I always like to write in here, none known. But if you know something, you should put it there, and you need to disclose that to all potential buyers if there's something wrong with the property. You could read through this paragraph. As a realtor and a licensed agent in Florida, you should know what this is about and what it's discussing. So I'm going to move on from here. We're going to state that there's nothing wrong with the property and there's nothing known. The most important paragraph, compensation. Well, compensation and number 10, but let's fill out compensation first. This is where you fill out the compensation amount, how much you're going to get paid, which is, in my opinion, the most important part of the contract. So let's say you're charging 6%. It's always going to, if you're a listing agent, the listing brokerage, you're going to receive that full 6%. Now, if you're going to be willing to split that with another buyer's broker, that's up to you, but you charge the full amount here. You don't do half here and then half in one of the other paragraphs. If you're going to split your commission, you'll state the full commission amount here. So let's say it's 6% and you're willing to split that, you put 6% here. Let's say it's 5%, you put 5% here. Let's say it's 3.5%, put 3.5, and then you'll be splitting that however you're going to split it. If you're going to give them a portion of it, half of it to a buyer's broker, that's completely up to you and your client, the seller, when you're doing this listing agreement. It could be whatever you want here, 8%, 10%, you would put it here. Sometimes brokerages charge a transaction fee. Let's say we're going to do 6% here. Let's say that's the commission that we're charging of the total purchase price, plus let's say we're going to charge an additional $400 transaction fee. you put that here for a $400 transaction fee. And that's how you fill out that paragraph. I'm not going to go over these option payments or the gross lease because this is a sales contract. We're not doing a rental. So I'm just going to discuss this part A up here. We're doing a 6% commission or compensation and $400 transaction fee, or an additional $400. Paragraph D discusses the protection period. You could read through this paragraph. I like to put 90 or 180 days. That's completely up to you. It could be 30 days, 15 days, 60 days, 200 days. That's up to you. I usually like to put 90 or 180. You could read through that paragraph, or if you're a member of our brokerage, feel free to contact us for further information. Retained deposits, you could fill out this paragraph if you want. This is about the brokers entitled to receive a percentage as liquidated damages for buyer's default in a transaction. You could leave it blank, or you could fill it out. If the old contracts used to have in here, it automatically is 50%, but the new contract here, it's not filled out, so I always recommend you put something here, even if it's 0%, you're not taking anything, or you're taking 25%. I'm going to leave it at 25% for the purposes of this video, but that's one change that I actually just noticed now, is that it used to be default 50%, but now that's no longer the case. You need to write in here the amount. You could write 0 if you're not keeping any of the deposit, if the buyer's default in the transaction, or you could write a percentage, 25%, 50%. It's completely up to you and your client to agree on it. There's nothing to fill out in paragraph 9. You could read through that. Paragraph 10 is probably the reason why most of the agents want me to make this video, is to help fill this particular paragraph out. As you know, you cannot list any type of compensation in the MLS, but your listing agreement here can state otherwise. In the MLS, you can't state anything about compensation, but you're going to have to fill out one of these 3 boxes here, and you're going to have to choose what you're going to do. The first thing, let's talk about A, is seller authorizes broker to offer compensation to a buyer's broker. Now, if you're going to, let's say this contract, we're charging 6% commission, and let's say you want to split that, you would fill that out in part A here. If you're going to split your commission, the 6%, if you're going to give away a portion of it, you could give away half, in which case you type 3 here. You're giving away 3%. You don't have to. You could give away 2%. You could split it however you want. You could give away the whole thing, the 6%, and receive no compensation on your end. You could give away only 1%. That's for you and your client to decide here of what you're going to split the amount and offer as compensation. 1% of the purchase price, or you could even do a flat fee amount. You could only say you're offering everyone, I don't know, $2,000. That's it. You're offering a flat fee of $2,000, and that's it out of your commission. You'll collect 6% of the sales price, and you're offering $2,000. It's completely up to you what you want to put here. Let's say for the purposes of this video, let's say we're going to give away 2%, and we'll leave it like that. But we also need to fill out these paragraphs. So let's erase this and say we're not offering compensation. Let's say we're going to keep the whole 6% and all the fees up here. Part B is seller authorizes broker to offer compensation to buyer's broker from seller in the amount of whatever the price is. But this paragraph is so you're collecting the commission, the listing broker, and the listing brokerage and agent. If you check mark B, that means that the seller is going to be responsible for offering compensation to the buyer's broker from seller. So in this particular case, the seller is going to be paying the commission. The first paragraph is, I know it's a little confusing, is this amount will be paid from broker to buyer's broker. That means you, the listing agent and listing brokerage, is paying the commission out of your, whatever the amount is that you collect. 6%, you're paying the portion out of that. Paragraph B here is the listing broker, listing agent, and broker are not paying that commission. It's up to the seller to offer that compensation amount. And the seller is authorizing that they'll offer an amount here. So let's say you change this to 3%, and then the seller is going to offer another 3% down here to any buyer's broker. So you're always going to collect your 3%, but if another buyer's broker gets involved, the seller will compensate them 3% directly. And that's how that would work from there. It's a little confusing, but to simplify it, the paragraph A is the the listing broker will compensate the buyer's broker. Paragraph B is the seller will compensate the buyer's broker. It just depends on what you want to do. My recommendation, you could keep it simple and just check mark A and just have the listing broker compensate the buyer's broker, but that's not necessarily the right or the wrong answer. You could just want to have the seller take care of the buyer's broker, and you as the listing agent and listing broker don't want to be associated with compensating the buyer's broker out of the commission. Leave that up to the seller, in which case you'd fill out this paragraph, whether it's a flat fee or a percentage of the purchase price. So you have to make the decision there. If you're a member of our brokerage, feel free to contact me if you need further clarification. But my recommendation for everyone else watching this video is I usually just check mark part A and split the commission however I'm going to split it. 6%, I'm giving away 2%, 3%. That's how I usually do it. And paragraph C is no compensation will be offered to buyer's broker, in which case, you just list the property and you're not working with buyer's broker. The seller's not going to compensate the buyer's broker. The listing broker is not going to compensate the buyer's broker. It's up for the buyer's broker to get compensated by their clients, the buyers, or elsewhere. Or you can maybe renegotiate it later down the road, but if you check mark this, you're not offering any compensation. And if you list it in the MLS, you can't list compensation in there anyway, so it doesn't matter. But you could expect to receive phone calls probably from buyers agents, and they're going to ask if there any compensation is being offered. If you tell them no, I don't know how that conversation will go, but I'll leave it up to everyone else to figure that out and imagine it. I'm not here really to discuss that. I'm here to just explain what these bubbles mean and how to fill them out. So again, I just keep it simple. If I'm the listing broker, I'm just going to offer a percentage of whatever my commission is if I'm splitting the commission at all. If I'm not splitting anything or paying anything, I just check mark box C, call it a day. If I'm not going to be offering any compensation to the buyer's broker and the seller doesn't want to offer anything either, just check mark that. But you could check mark box B as well and have the seller take care of the buyer's broker. It's up to you. For the purpose of this video, let's just say I'm giving away 3% out of my commission, or compensation, however you want to call it. It's supposed to be called compensation now, so that's what I have to get used to saying. Conditional termination, you could put a number here or just leave it as 0 to cancel the contract, or you could put something in there, I don't know, $500, $5,000. It's up to you and what you and your client agree to conditionally terminate this. Dispute resolution, you want to make sure the seller's initial and broker initials this paragraph for dispute resolution and arbitration. You could read through that, or contact us if you're a member of our brokerage if you have further questions. And that's pretty much it for this listing agreement. There's the additional terms. I'm not going to go over any additional terms in here. If you're a member of our brokerage and you're looking to do something with additional terms, you could feel free to contact us and we'll explain, but for the purposes of this video, I'm not going to really discuss that. The last parts here is simple: seller signature, the date, their phone numbers, their address, email address. You got the brokerage firm name down here, the address, copy returned to seller by email, mail, whatever you click here, and you put the date, whatever it is, and have everyone execute the document. Make sure everyone initials down at the bottom, the agent, broker, seller. It's on every page. This is going to require initials. And down here, you just have everyone sign. Broker or authorized sales associate signs and dates. I'm not going to fill this out because I think it's self-explanatory, but if you have questions about it, you're a member of our brokerage, you could contact us, but I think that's pretty much it for this contract. I know it's a little confusing about the paragraph 10 with the compensation to buyers brokers, but keep it simple. If you're going to give away a portion of your commission, you just check mark box A. So if you're working for 6%, whatever it is, 5%, you want to give away 2%, 3%, to split it with a buyer's broker, you could check mark box A here. And then, if you need to do the other 2 boxes, that's at your sole discretion of how you're going to handle your business. But this is, I think, the easiest way, in my opinion. Doesn't mean that I'm right or wrong. Just what's easiest for you. And this is the way I find it easiest for me if I'm going to be splitting the commission. If I'm not giving away any of the commission, I just check mark box C. So that's it. I'll be putting new videos up of all the other listing agreements, but this is the one for transaction broker. So we'll discuss more and look out for new videos. Thank you.